Good morning, everybody. I guess it's afternoon. I don't know. I just wanted to go ahead and get this story time on the record for you guys because it is a very fun story. So I didn't write this all out. I just don't want to miss anything because it's like a long timeline to cover. So let's begin at the beginning. Let's do a little disclaimer about this video. If you don't like hearing about old high school drama and stuff that doesn't matter anymore and just like kid drama, then this maybe isn't a video for you. It's been about 6 years since it happened. It's been quite a while. Yeah, I don't know these people anymore, so whatever their life situation is now is totally different. They may be 100% different people. People grow up in 6 years. I know I did. And there are parts of the story that don't make me look very good either. So let's begin. I met a guy in high school, my junior year, right before prom, who had dated a friend of mine, but he was really, really nice and funny and kind of like a skater boy, if you will. Always sort of sagged his pants. I was very into that. Don't know why. We dated for a while. We ended up going to prom together. Let's call these two people Todd and Jamie. At the time, my best friend was Jamie, and Jamie was really, really, really outgoing, really, really, really pretty, really, really fun, like had a lot of family drama in her family. A lot of different things were going on for her. She had two sisters, and one of them got pregnant when we were in high school, and she was the oldest, so her two sisters were younger. And so there's just a lot going on for Jamie, and I really, really loved being part of her family because I was an only child. Like, we were really, really close, and I loved her very much. You know, people make mistakes when they're young. When I started dating Todd, I put him first a lot, and I probably shouldn't have, and it ended up where I would take Sarah with me to Todd's house, and Todd's parents and I were really close, and so Todd's parents and Jamie became really close, and we'd all hang out. His friend TJ would tag along, and we tried to set up TJ and Jamie. This is really hard trying to stick to these alias names. I'm just trying not to, share their identity, although I probably will never ever see this. Todd was a year older than me in high school, and he graduated before me, and he was working at like a tire place where he would bust tires, things like that, and was working on becoming a mechanic. I thought that was very sexy at the time, to be honest. I don't really know that I would still find that sexy, but I did. And he was doing that, and then he kind of was trying to figure out what he wanted to do with the rest of his life. I was talking about going to college in Colorado, where I'm from. I was either going to go to CSU or UNC. However, I got a big scholarship to a school in Indiana, and I thought about going there, but I really wanted to stay in Colorado so that Todd and I could stay together. He could move up to the college town with me, and we could, start our life together. And he was talking about becoming like a paramedic or something like that. And then one day he pulled me aside and he said, "I want to join the Marine Corps." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just really into glory, and I can't stop thinking about it, and I really want to fight for America." I think that's reasonable. I don't ever think you should join the armed forces for the glory. I don't think he did it for the right reasons. I think he did it because he felt like he was lost and didn't know what else to do. And at this point, Jamie and I weren't really friends anymore because at some point, Jamie and Todd had gotten into this fight about how her family was, not always maybe kind of trashy. I don't really remember what the fight was about. And he was kind of mean to her, and I picked him. Shouldn't have done that. But Jamie and Todd were not getting along, and at some point I sort of received a roundabout ultimatum from Jamie saying, it's me or him. I can't be around both of you. I don't like him. He doesn't treat me very well. I can't. And that should have been a red flag. And they were sort of close, like occasionally, like he'd driven her home if I had to go to work in the morning or something like that. Just like we would hang out, he would take care of her. And they'd had a few good chats she had told me about. I never really thought anything of it. I never thought one thing. So I graduate from high school with Jamie. Jamie and I graduate together, and at this point, Todd has already gone to boot camp for the Marine Corps, and we were writing letters that whole summer, and the letters were getting really, really weird. Like, I'm still myself, still keeping my good comedic personality. I'm still myself. I'm working really hard to become this soldier. I'm ready to die for America. And they were just getting darker and darker. And just as a small background tip, Todd is a person who has struggled with depression in the past. And so I didn't know where that was leading. And I knew that he struggled with depression in the past when we were dating. And so I wasn't really sure who he was going to be when we got back together. At the end of the summer, I flew to San Diego and went to his military graduation, and I saw him for the first time in like 4 months, and it was great, and we went to Disney World, and everything was really good, and we flew back together, and we got back, and then I was packing up to leave for college like the next day, and because he decided to join the Marine Corps, I was like, well, since you're going to do whatever you want, I'm going to do whatever I want. I got this big scholarship to this school in Indiana, going there. So I did. I went to Indiana, I packed up my car and left within days of him graduating. This left him with Jamie and his parents, Jamie and his parents were close, and I went to college. And as a side note for me, when I think of college, I think finally I get to be an adult. I've waited my whole life to be an adult. I had a very controlling parents, so I didn't get to do a lot of things that I wanted to do, and I really wasn't aware of a lot of things in the world growing up that I should have been. And so when I got to college, I was like, wow. I was shocked. There were so many different types of people out there I'd never even met. There were so many things I was learning about. I could drink and go to parties, and granted, the school that I went to was a fairly decent party school, and I started drinking and going out, and I would call Todd all the time to tell him how it was going, and after like a week or less of this, he was like, Megan, I'm really concerned about you. And I was like, well, why? He's like, well, you're drinking and going out a lot, and I just think you're going down a bad path. And also during this time, he and I tried to Skype a lot, and he was just not being responsive. He would not really say anything. He would just sort of stare at the screen. He kind of checked out of the relationship at this point, I felt like, and I wasn't really getting anything from him. He was just like, oh, you're going down a bad path, like this isn't you. And I was like, yeah, I'm in college. This is what I want to do. Like, I want to enjoy myself. I'm in college. Like, I should be drinking and hanging out with people. I should be talking to people from different backgrounds. He was like, well, you're going to cheat on me. And then we started down this path of like trust issues. And then I got this message from Jamie that was like, hey, like, here you and Todd are having a pretty tough time. You want to talk about it? And I said, oh, we're fine. We'll work it out. We just have to get the communication flowing better, because I really kind of thought he is just being weird. He got back from military school. I'm going through some life transitions. Like, we just need to figure it out. Yeah. So then he calls me one night and he says, oh, and just so you know, we had promise rings. So they were just like bands from Kohl's or whatever. They were $20, but we both wore promise rings on our ring fingers. And so we were committed to each other. He called me and said, either you promise to marry me right now at the end of college, or we're done. And I said, excuse me, you're gonna give me an ultimatum like that? Like, I can't answer that. I have no idea who I'm gonna be in 4 years. I've already been open to so many new things in a month that, like, you're asking me to decide something for myself 4 years from now. I can't give you an answer. So if you really feel like you want to give me an ultimatum and it's this or that, then I guess we're done, because we'd been together for about 1.5 years or more at this point. And I was just like, I can't believe that you would say that to me. I was very upset, and so it was very weird for me. Like, I didn't know what to think or what to do or who to be, and I ended up getting really upset at a party. I ended up staying at someone's house. Like, obviously no cheating happened. I just ended up staying there because I was so upset, and it become this big issue, and I was like clearly visibly like breaking down at other people's houses, which is bad. So the next day I called him and I said, yeah, I can't, if this is who you want me to be, I can't right now, because I am just figuring out who I am. And no, you can't make me decide something about myself from somebody 4 years from now who I don't even know. And so I guess I didn't realize how close Jamie and Todd had gotten at this point. I did not know. And it never really crossed my mind. Like, Jamie was always like a bigger gal. They never really got along. It never crossed my mind that she would be a threat in that way at all. Then I saw something, I think it was on Facebook, that they were dating, and I was like, interesting, because we broke up in September, like right on my birthday. And so that was terrible. I had just turned 18 and I had just broken up with my long-term boyfriend, and I was in college and I was a mess, and that wasn't good for me. So Jamie and Todd had been hanging out a lot. He was in Colorado briefly before he went to, I guess they'd been talking on Facebook, because actually, now I'm thinking about it, he was in some other state for some training. I don't even remember what it was. Yeah, so they've been talking. So after we broke up, Jamie and his mom went to see him because, like I said, he struggles with depression. They wanted to make sure he was okay. They drove up to see him, and I guess that's when this whole thing started. I had no idea. In December, I went home for Christmas break. They had broken up. Todd had been trying to get a hold of me at that point to see me, to try and get back together, and he had still been talking to her. But they had broken up, and her and I met for lunch because I kind of saw after Todd and I broke up that he was very self-involved and needed to work on himself before. So I really wasn't interested in getting back together with him. But like, Jamie and I have been really close for many, many years, and I really wanted to see her and make sure she was okay. And we sat in that restaurant for 4 hours and talked about this, and she was visibly like, I love him. And it had been like 2 or 3 months. Like, she's like, I love him, I wanted to marry him, I lost my virginity to him, and she was bawling, and I was just sitting there like, you're telling me right now that you're in love with my ex-boyfriend that I was with for 1.5 years, that you've been with for 3 months, and you're like visibly really upset. I was like, wow. And I was like, look, he's been texting me like, and it got kind of dirty then she started saying like, oh, well, he only dated you because like you hurt his ex, or, and then she started saying like weird shit like that, and I was like, hey, like, I'm just letting you know that he's still talking to me, like, I'm not trying to put you down. And then she started sort of putting me down by saying like, oh, he says this and he says that, and I was like, everybody says stuff like that after a breakup, obviously you don't want to feel like an idiot. So I kind of was like, whatever, they're broken up. They got back together in January, and I somehow found out that they were engaged. I don't remember how. And in February, I got a text from my theater teacher from my high school. He and I had been fairly close. I worked with him all 4 years of high school. He was like kind of my second dad during high school, and he was like, hey, heads up, Todd and Jamie are getting married this week. And I was like, how do you know that? And he was like, well, her cousin's in my class and said something about it, and I just thought you should know. And I was like, wow, like next week? It's February. So we had broken up in September. They had broken up in December and then gotten married in January. I remember when I found out, I was sitting in the basement in the study room with a friend of mine, and my mom had sent me like a Valentine's Day gift package, which had like a giant chocolate heart in it, and I had already started eating it when I found out, and after I found out, I finished the entire giant chocolate heart. I was just like, holy shit, like, this is very uncool. They had a small courthouse wedding and had 2 kids, both of which are extremely adorable. I don't know if they're still together. I really don't follow them. I don't really know anything about them anymore. I know that she has 2 kids. I have followed her on and off on Facebook for a long time. I initially blocked everybody because I was just like obsessively checking everything, and I just knew that wasn't healthy. So I did initially block everyone just for my own sanity, because I was like obsessively checking every day about who they are and what they were doing, and I didn't need to know that information, and I needed to distance myself from it. Obviously, this relationship gave me like a lot of trust issues later in life, which is why it's taken me so long to figure out the rest of my life. But I finally did, so at least we're there. Yeah, so I think that covers it. Hopefully I was able to use their aliases the whole time, but I just was so in shock. Like, I knew, knowing him, that he would go out and immediately seek companionship from someone else. I knew that because that's just the kind of person he was. He needed that. I never saw it coming from her, though, because, like I said, they never got along. They always fought. They, like, hated each other as far as I knew, and maybe I'm just an idiot. I don't know. I could be an idiot. I could have never seen it coming. Beats me, man. But I was just so shocked, and, like, I think she hurt me by doing it more than he did, even though I hadn't really been a good friend to her in the last couple of years. I was just so shocked. It was shocking. Yeah, that's it. That's the story. Thanks, guys. See you next time.